He said the age of heroes would never come again.
Oh, well, it has to.
The symbol of the House of El means hope. Embodied within that hope is the fundamental belief, the potential of every person, be a force or good. You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards. They'll race behind you. They will stumble. They'll fall. But in time, they will join you in the summit.
Amazon's attack.
Oh, God.
Every Wonder Woman fan watching this just reacted exactly like Jen did. Welcome to Under Two Capes. I'm Jared. I'm here with Robert. What's up, man?
Hey, it's good to give you the heads up. It's been a while since I've read through this again, and I didn't get a chance to reread it, so I'm going off of memory.
It's all good. It's all good. I remember enough. So today we are discussing Geoff Johns' New 52 run on Aquaman, collected in this very nice omnibus, by the way. So this was one of the runs, and Geoff had said that, like, back then when they were all doing the New 52, they asked Geoff, "Why are you doing Aquaman?" And that's the really interesting part about this book. It's like, so, and because anyone that knows Geoff Johns knows that he's one of those writers that, like, he knows how to.
With one exception.
Well, what I mean is, he knows how to take a character that's been like a third stringer character and make them cool again. Let me put it to you that way.
I'm sorry, I just had a joke to say one exception.
Yeah, we all know the one character he cannot write is Wonder Woman. All other characters he's fine with, except Wonder Woman.
But Aquaman. Now, here's the thing. Peter David had a great attempt beforehand, and it lasted well until things like Entourage made him a joke again.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, because Peter David did start the saving Aquaman thing, but the thing about Geoff Johns is that this was what made it stick.
Exactly. And what people don't get, what I mean by that is that because Entourage was the public eye that people, and they reminded people like, oh yeah, isn't he funny? Isn't he stupid?
Yeah, it's another it was another portrayal of him being a joke because, again, as comic book fans, we know Aquaman is such a badass character. The problem is the general audience didn't, because first you had the Super Friends, but you had Peter David's Aquaman that was helping with that, but that was helping counter that. Then you had Entourage, which undid all that.
Yep, even his brief appearance in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, but since it was just guest appearance, never a main role, it didn't help either.
Reportedly, he was supposed to be one of the main on the main roster before they changed it.
My guess is they probably wanted to keep the King side, but they realized, how do we work with that?
Well, the other thing, it's like, because actually what's kind of funny is they did plan to do an episode where it was from the perspective like the classic Justice League, and there was all going to be revealed that it was the multiverse. But that was kind of cool. By Hi Crystal, she says this is true. Plus the humor was really good. Yes, I like how Geoff doesn't run away from like Aquaman being a joke, if you will, because people still call him a joke when he's in that like restaurant, but Aquaman just embraces it.
Oh no, like, you talk to fish? I don't talk to fish. They're not intelligent enough to talk to. I nudge them.
Yeah, I like that, and it's like he even pays someone in gold doubloons.
Yep. By the way, it always just reminded me of one thing. You know what Peter David is? I just want to get this out of the way. You know what he established about Aquaman? He only talks to sea life. You know why he lost his hand?
Why?
What are piranhas not? They're not. They're freshwater.
Oh, yeah.
So they wouldn't do anything.
Yeah, so it's not like in the DCAU where he had to cut off his arm to save his kid?
No, in this case, his hand was put right in there, and the piranhas ate it, and there was nothing he could do. He could nudge them away, because they wouldn't listen because they're not sea life.
That's actually not a bad idea. Interesting how that works out.
But the other thing Jeff I loved established was, reminded us, he lives in the ocean. That how much pressure that does on you, he's practically bulletproof just because his skin is so hard.
Yeah. So continue. So now, and remember, so The funny thing about the new 52 is that a lot of the original runs are still like revered. Like, again, remember we had Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo on Batman at this time, and then you had this. And the thing about this version of Aquaman, it also had fairly tingy elements of horror. Like the first villains were like the Trench from Aquaman.
Well, yeah, this is where the Trench were introduced.
Yeah, exactly. And I really dug that. You also had, hey, what's up, NJ? You also had the Throne of Atlantis, which they gave Aquaman the centerpiece of an event.
Yep. And they gave, well, to be fair, it was a crossover event, not like a big event, but still.
Let me put it this way. You had tie-ins and Justice League was part of it, and you had Aquaman tie-ins. It's an event.
Fair enough. You have that, and I'll tell you this, Rise of the King, the final story arc, was essential for Aquaman 2.
Yeah, exactly. So what you guys don't realize is that, yes, this inspired the first Aquaman movie, but also there's heavy elements like the Black Trident and stuff in this as well.
In fact, Geoff, one of the biggest gates of Geoff leaving a plot thread dangling. He set up another event that would have happened, never did, and Dan Abnett, who took over, never did anything. Or Jeff Parker. Was it Abnett or Parker? I keep forgetting who was right after him.
I think it was actually. I have one of the trades of the ones that came out after him. I'm trying to see that. Who came after him?
Right. I know whichever one it was. They're the ones who brought in Aquaman's mom.
Yeah, and then it was like, so you also had like you also had during like Forever Evil, Orm took like the main role because you had that period where the League was like supposedly killed, so the villains were the main characters, and we show that like Orm isn't really a bad guy.
That's the other thing I like. He basically set up, and again, the Aquaman, movies would play off of it. That Orm, when you look at his backstory, much like you would with Sinestro and Black Adam, you realize, this doesn't make sense for them to be completely evil.
Yeah, and again, it's like, yeah, and to Robert's point, Geoff has done this many times before really well, like with Sinestro.
Because as I've said before about Sinestro, if he was given the Green Lantern ring, unless the Guardians were major idiots, which they could be, we know that, but you know what I mean.
They kind of are.
It doesn't make sense for him to have had it if he was such a mustache twirler.
Yeah, exactly. So then what you also have is also in this series, you also have where it's revealed that you have the whole origin of Black Manta's feud with Aquaman. But what you also have is like the reveal that Aquaman actually had like a Black Ops team that he led before he was like a member of the Justice League, which was really cool. I really like that idea for the team, and by Robert's away, so he'll come back. Okay, Robert's back. But yeah, so anyways, it's like he had this entire team. That's called, I think it was called like the Outsiders, that would like that would like be on the team and stuff, which I really liked because there's a lot of like really interesting characters there, and what this book did really well is it gave Aquaman like a world outside of being on the Justice League. And by the way, Dave says, maybe we shouldn't give a Green Lantern ring to a guy named Sinestro. Shut up, Ganthet. I know, right? I know. That's the funny part about that. I love that.
Do you guys hear me now?
Yes, I do.
Okay, yeah. I don't know why you wasn't heard. But as I was saying, it was the others.
Yeah, the others. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the okay, yeah. Sorry. My mistake, but yeah, it's like, yeah, exactly, Engine, the guy that can write every other character supposedly, but Wonder Woman. And you know what? You have creatives like that where like they do well in every character, but for some reason it just doesn't work. Which, hey, that happens. Probably also why he hasn't written Wonder Woman that much, because he recognizes that maybe I can't do this character properly.
Maybe.
Which, hey, I respect that. But yeah, I definitely really dig. The other things that I really dig is that Geoff was also aided by like the art of like Ivan Reyes and like all the other guys that like really like made the world look like really like crazy.
Ivan Rice and Paul Pelletier.
Yeah, they really like made everything look so vivid and the colors look really good. Again, everything in this book like looked really good, and I like again how like because what Geoff is also the expert at is taking a character and like expanding their mythology significantly. I mean, look what he did with Green Lantern.
Yep, and he only did this in 25 issues.
Yeah, exactly. In 25 issues, he laid the foundation for a significant like expansion of Aquaman's lore. Just imagine that.
Not just that, he expanded Mara too.
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing he did. And when Britt and I did the Aquaman Mara episode, we talked about this, how Mara was actually like a main character in this as well. She wasn't just like, oh, the love interest that just hangs out and supports Aquaman. There was a great whole arc where she goes to the food store for pet food, and she ends up like attacking someone that was hitting on her.
The thing is about Mara, she had barely been up until barely a character. Mostly because
up until what?
Not Forever Evil, but Blackest Night.
Yeah.
Up until
you keep coming in and out,
hello,
Robert.
Hello. Do I sound better now?
Yeah. Yes.
She was barely a character, and I'm trying to remember what I was saying. I remember because unfortunately
you keep going in and out, Robert. You're going robotic. Anyway, I think what Robert's trying to say is that she wasn't really that much of a character and stuff. And by Dave says, Aquaman's trajectory started with Brightest Day 2. Johns and Grant Morrison are the masters of rehabilitating characters and expanding their worlds. Yes, exactly. That is very true. It's like, even look at, and by the way, okay, so
there
now,
we go.
all right.
Way back, pre-crisis.
No, I lost you, Robert.
Hold on.
But anyway, the other thing that he's like really good at is doing that. Hey, what's up, Tavia? Yeah, but it's like when it comes to like it's like Mara, she not once did I really feel like she was just there. That's the big like advantage that like Geoff has as a writer. It's like he's like no one's he doesn't treat characters like throwaway characters. All right.
Okay. Do you hear? How do I sound now? Do you hear me now?
Yes, they do.
As I was saying, up until Blackest Night, Mara was more known for going crazy after the death of their son, which unfortunately was, when you really look at it, a large majority of her history.
Mm-hmm. But now it's like, no, she's also like a significant character. And it's like, this continued even after Geoff left the book, whether or not it's like the Dan Abnett Aquaman run, even a credit where credit is due, the Kelly Sue DeConnick run.
Exactly. Because even Peter David, he put Aquaman was Dolphin.
Which I'm like, no.
Well, then eventually he did put Aquaman later, Dolphin later with Tempest.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, though, like again, throughout all of Geoff's run, he did a lot. Basically, it's like this would definitely be a case of him coming in and deciding I'm going to overhaul the character and then leave.
Yeah, exactly. And then yes, Mira was the Red Lantern, and that's Robert's point. It's like they made her like a Red Lantern because of like all of her rage stuff, and I'm like, nowadays I don't think I could see Mira being a Red Lantern.
Well, now, yeah, but I also love the fact that what did Black Lantern Aquaman show her? Their dead son, and she's immediately spewing the Red Lantern blood onto it.
Yeah, exactly. Because most people don't know, it's like at that time, wasn't it like the Red Lanterns were wasn't it going back and forth on if the Red Lanterns were actually like sentient?
They were, well, up until they didn't regain their sentience, with one or two exceptions, until New 52, when Peter Milligan had them go through it.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, up until that point, they were, with the exception of Atrocitus, they were always mindless.
Yeah, exactly. And then and she says Mara should be more in team books. Alongside one of the other lawyers in the Justice League. Well, she was on the Justice League in the Rebirth book back with what happened to Aquaman in the book. I'm not gonna spoil it because I want you guys to read it, but she has been featured in the Justice League book a bunch, and I think she's even on the League now, obviously, because every hero's on the Justice League.
And yeah, she was on Hugh Should Not Be Named Run.
Yeah, and Jace, exactly. That's what we're talking about there.
But here's the thing, though: you need one, a writer who'd be willing to write them, but two, they need to have a good reason to have her involved. And that's the one thing about Mara. She, even Arthur, in a lot of ways, has lost the being a mainstay because his being kingly status makes it kind of difficult to juggle that.
Well, not only that, I know I gave credit to Kelly Sue DeConnick, but her run also hurt Aquaman's reputation.
To a point, but I don't.
Well, case in point, the book was canceled and we hadn't had a book until Jeremy Adams.
Was it? Well, no, we had Aquaman first, which was an attempt.
That doesn't count.
But that was an ongoing that got canceled soon, so yeah.
Yeah, but I'm talking about an Arthur-centric book, not one where they stupidly try and share the mantles.
Fair enough.
But yeah, and Jeremy Adams is. I know that it's kind of funny with the Adams run is like he got a heat for supposedly fridging Mara, and I'm like, he did it though. But
we also had one of the greatest twists because he realized no one did anything with Mara's mom.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I asked Jeremy when Britt and I interviewed him, and even he goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Have they never really introduced Mara's mother before?"
Exactly, because all she was ever known was giving birth and then supposedly dying.
Yeah, so it's like leave it to Jeremy Adams. But anyway, so back to this. So the other thing that I really liked about it is the other thing about Mara, you also had it where when he's talking about like why Black Manta hates him, and he tells Mary, he goes, "No, I killed his father," and he goes, "I don't deserve to wear the like armor." Mira's there to like support him and say, "No, you do. You're a hero. Be the king that your people need."
One thing I do like about Mira is she thinks as an Atlantean, not a human, but I mean it in the best way.
Yeah, it's kind of like where. And the other reason why Britt and I reviewed it is because she is like the Wonder Woman of his world. Hear me out on this. Because Wonder Woman, friend or romantic, encourages Superman to embrace being a Kryptonian. She encourages Arthur to embrace being an Atlantean.
But at least not to a detriment like other
Not to
Atlanteans.
A detriment, exactly. Not to a detriment, but it's like she makes sure he doesn't ignore the fact you're an Atlantean.
Oh, I know. I just want to be clear. I'm talking about compared to other Atlanteans. I just want to get that clear out of the way. Not compared to other Atlanteans who basically say, "No, forgo Earth. Let us wipe out Earth and humanity, the surface world."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Of course, I can also. If there's one thing to blame Geoff Johns for is Mara and Wonder Woman in Flashpoint.
Well, here's the thing about that. Here's the other thing about that. And Rand, she doesn't have a twin sister.
She has a sister, but I don't believe a twin sister.
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about that, because it's like with Flashpoint, it's like the book is better because it's like at least Wonder Woman was begging Mira to stop. It's the movie that destroys it.
She does have a twin sister, Hilla.
Oh, okay. But,
duh. She appears at one point. Remember where we think, wait, did Mira go turn against Arthur? And no, it's her twin sister.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, even though Hilla's considered the black sheep.
Yeah, okay. Oh, but Jeremy Adams is becoming the Boba Fett to Geoff Johns Jango Fett. You mean the one that's carries on the legacy? Yes.
Him and Williamson both.
Yeah, exactly.
And the funny thing is, Geoff's had other proteges that unfortunately got screwed over, like Sterling Gates and J.T. Kroll.
Well, the funny part about this is, it's really hilarious when you actually think about it. it's like the other funny thing about when you look at Jeremy Adams' career. So he's basically following the Geoff Johns model. Legit, all he has to do, and I told this to him, and he laughed. All he has to do is write JSA, and he's exactly the Geoff Johns model.
And Teen Titans, yeah.
And Teen Titans, yeah. I'm like, oh my god, this is great.
All he needs is edit. Oh, and Shazam.
And let's be honest, there are a lot of writers that I could say are the modern day Geoff Johns, like Williamson to a degree. I think Adams is, from a writing perspective, he is the modern day Geoff Johns.
Definitely, especially his taking parts from what came before and even obscure stuff.
Yeah, because, and that's what Geoff always did that is so good. He takes Silver Age stuff, like in Green Lantern and this, and what he never ceases to be, I can't think of a bad, maybe you can think about a bad example, but I can't think of a single time he really failed at trying to at least modernize the Silver Age concept.
I won't say it was a failure. I just wish he didn't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater when he did it. And what he did to try and bring back Toyman, it was at the expense of Hero.
Okay, I can kind of believe that, but I'm not talking about like failing as in replacing. I'm talking about failing as in he did it, and it just really, it was like, nah.
Oh, no, I agree. I get what you mean. I'm just simply saying that was one of the case where you're like, did you have to throw out Hero?
I hear you. But yeah, but it's like, because I always say all the time, you have to be able to either modernize or let go of things, because otherwise, guess what? These characters are not going to grow. Geoff manages to balance that perfectly.
And Tevia, PKJ, I used to think that, but I got to say, he's not a Geoff Johns protege. Like, he writes very good, but Geoff Johns style, he ain't.
Yeah, and plus, he's only he hasn't written enough of other characters besides Superman and Batman for me to count him as that.
Well, that too, but I'm just saying the way he tells stories, he's more of a telling something fresh and new spin, but nothing like bringing back stuff. PKJ never really did that.
Yeah, and then it's like NG says, maybe that's why he doesn't get Wonder Woman, because he's a Silver Age family. Wonder Woman in that era was a disaster. That could be. You know what? That could be.
Let me put it this way. I wouldn't say disaster, just boring.
Well, the other thing, it's like, again, I love Infinite Crisis, but the moment, and I love Linkara's response, where Golden Age Wonder Woman says that modern Wonder Woman has never been human. And I'm like, bro!
Yeah, exactly. It's like she worked at fast food and didn't think it was beneath her.
That's the definition of human, brother. Like, what are you doing there?
Exactly. But you have that.
Dave says, and I doubt Geoff Johns will ever whine or insult Adams for expanding some of his concepts like a certain bearded gentleman from the UK. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, well, Alan Moore's one to talk. When he does expand characters, he turns it into porn.
Yes, as in the case of his little princess book that I told I explained Brit that concept to Brit, and she's like, long silence, and then she goes, "Oh." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sorry."
And they thought they were trying to elevate porn.
Particularly, it's like, and particularly,
now thanks to me, you will never look at Alan Moore the same way again. You're welcome.
No, I can't. And that could explain why Geoff Johns trying to make Barry Allen the main Flash. Yeah, that is also why that is the problem that Geoff Johns does have sometimes. It's like he and to Robert's point about Toyman, he brings stuff back sometimes at the detriment. Although it can seem as at the detriment, because I would argue with Green Lantern when he brought back Hal Jordan, he at least kept Kyle Rayner, because he could have killed off Kyle easily.
Brad Meltzer says that in the intro for Green Lantern Rebirth. It could have been just, steamroll everything, the current stuff with the past. No. And I'll say this, even with Wally, he still made him viable. It's just, unfortunately, other writers didn't continue on with it. And then New 52 tossed it out the window.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Geoff gets the heat for doing, for like what happened with Wally. And I'm like, no, blame the other writers that came afterwards. He gave them plenty of stuff to work with.
Plus, I'm sure Geoff he was just trying to rebuild up Barry. Because if you really look at it, the Brightest Day era was only like 12 issues before Flashpoint.
Yeah, and it's like again. Now, let me tell you this as well. Hey, what's up, Cameron? You have to be a talented guy to be able to redeem Hal Jordan.
Oh yeah, and the way he did it was, and now, the way he did it was have it be he was influenced and possessed. Now it's still saying it was still his actions. It was, you can't say it was none of his action, but it was mostly not his action.
And by Dave says, everything Elmore is known for was either a pastiche, expansion, or deconstruction of another writer's creation, yet he has the gall to complain about people expanding his stuff. No one ever said he was intellectually honest, Dave. Let's face it.
I will agree with that. Now, he still does it in a brilliant way. There's no arguing that.
Yeah, it's still smart, but it's like...
But when he complained about Geoff using the Blackest Night prophecy, it's like, you weren't going to do anything with it. Was he supposed to just leave it there?
Or it's like Doomsday Clock.
Well, that too, but even that though, even Dave Gibbons wasn't a fan.
Well, it was also because I know why. And the other problem that Alan Moore had is that he bitched that like DC would never let Watchmen go out of print. I'm like, bro, it sold really well.
That's what I have been saying so constantly. It's like, again, they made that agreement. It was a standard agreement, and they were probably saying, "Oh yeah, we'll do a couple of trades. It'll go out of print, and then you have the rights." It was standard. Then it's like, "Oh, this is being done intelligent."
Expect it. They didn't expect it to do that well.
Wait, this is the first comic to ever be on the New York Times bestseller. Keep reprinting it.
Yeah, that was the first time that comics was really being taken seriously.
But I think it's still the only graphic novel to be on the New York Times bestseller for a book novel.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm like, so what do you expect it to do? And then Cameron says, for years, Aquaman was laughed at for talking to fish until a writer went, wait, why wouldn't we make him OP or badass? Yeah, it's like, now writers have tried to do that, but again, Geoff Johns was the first time it really stuck, and it was solidified by the Snyderverse movies. But it really was like the foundation was laid when you get to Geoff Johns' Aquaman.
I will also give another credit to something else. Brave and the Bold, outrageous, helped out too by making him just crazy. Like, I'm awesome.
Well, the other thing that I find that was a problem, it's like. Too many. It's like I see people constantly talk about why that DC should like get rid of the New 52 completely, like throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I'm like, if you don't have the New 52, you lose like stuff like this.
Exactly. Now, in one defense, much like with Scott Snyder's Batman, I am positive, especially given some of the artists involved, these were supposed to be the next runs, regardless of it being New 52 or not. They just reworked, they tweaked it to fit New 52 because it feels like they come right after either Snyder's Detective Comics work or Brightest Day.
Yeah, 100%. But it's like when you like ignore the good, like again, what character did we recently talk about, Robert, that came out of the New 52 that everyone loves? That wears a green costume. Oh,
you mean with Jessica and all that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, Dave says the DCA used Peter David as Aquaman help. Yeah, exactly. It did definitely help. But then you had Entourage. That's why it didn't stick. This stuck.
And when you have something like, again, an HBO, and that was the other thing. Entourage was a hit show. Yes, it was on a premium channel, but still, it was a hit show. And you had the Aquaman movie subplot that, again, just mocked the hell out of him.
Yeah. Then when I think of Geoff Johns' Aquaman, the moment where he became a badass, it was that moment in Throne of Atlantis where he's standing on the mound and he goes, "I am your king."
That's the thing about it. That's what Geoff made it be. It's like, I am king, you listen to me.
That was when, in my mind, at least the way I thought of Aquaman, that's when he stopped being, oh, look at Aquaman, and started being like, oh my gosh, this guy's a badass.
Exactly.
And think about it, a character that rules the seven seas should automatically be a badass. Look at how much water is covering this planet.
Well, that's how it now. To be fair, that goes back to Peter David again. But yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you had these two writers that were like, why isn't he a badass?
And I'll still say this with Geoff, much again, it was Jeff Parker took over, then Abnett did Rebirth. But yeah, both of those writers continued on seamlessly.
Yeah, and the funny part is like even back years ago when Comics Explained and Comic Story would talk about the Aquaman books, they're like, "Have you read the Aquaman books?" And they were like, "Oh my gosh, it's so good! Aquaman, New 52 again. Aquaman Rebirth is the other Rebirth book that I point to, and I'm like, this and Green Lantern are the reason why I can't say all of Rebirth sucked."
Yeah, exactly. And again, because it feels like a seamless continuation. You had a different writer, but it was a seamless continuation, because you had a writer who's good, and in that case, Dan Abnett, who is good at picking up where the previous run left off.
And NJ, that's a good point, because in that Rebirth run, he kicked Superman's ass.
Exactly. Because again, here's the thing. Again, he is pretty much the Superman of the sea.
Yeah, he is. Well, people really don't understand how powerful Arthur really is.
Now, I will still give this. It was Jeff Parker who, not Geoff Johns, it was Jeff Parker who really redefined Aquaman's mom to be what we got in the movies.
Which, yeah, and that's fine, but I'm talking about straight up just Arthur.
Oh, no, I know. I just wanted to bring that up because because we know Jeff worked on the movie. I just want to say, don't give him all credit.
Yeah, exactly. But then you have like what about Brave? Yeah, we talked about Brave and the Bold. Have you? I also like Aquaman because his lore is his lore is awesome. The art is awesome. It's like there's so much here that it takes a good. Aquaman is another one of the examples of all it takes is the right writer, and look at what the character becomes.
And here's the other thing about Aquaman. Jeff pretty much redefined recontextualized his backstory. But it's because most people don't know it that much beyond, his father was a lighthouse keeper and he banged the queen of Atlantis, and thus Arthur was born. Other than that, no one really has gone into much depth and really knows or cares.
Yeah, exactly. And then Tevia says, Aquaman is basically he is a great character. And then Cameron says, in that new 52 arc where Aquaman revealed he had a contingency for the surface, and his first thought was thinking Gotham. I'm like, oh, yeah, exactly. I like to think he's like, no, we have to take out Batman first. Trust me, we have to take out Batman first.
Mm-hmm. And like
I love it. This counts because this was Jeff still writing it, but in Justice League when he first shows up and he goes, who's the leader? I vote me.
Mm-hmm. And here's the other thing I would say is going back to Orm, like I said before, he, again, as Jeff has done plenty of times, because we brought up Sinestro, but you also look at compared to Black Adam. Like I said, Orm, there isn't anything about his backstory or anything to make him that malevolently evil. When you really think about it, he's just a guy who cares about his people, and he has every reason to hate the surface world.
Yeah, all he wants to do is he's just protecting his people. He just has a very skewed way of thinking about protection.
But it's not that far off that you can compare to other people. Again, back in the old days, you think, that's pure evil. It's like, no, it's not.
You know what? I think he's basically Arthur if Arthur was purely raised in Atlantis. Look at what happened in Flashpoint.
That's exactly what it is. If Arthur was purely raised in Atlantis, that is what Orm is, because he doesn't know anything about the surface world, nor does he care to. Why should he? As far as he knows, they keep polluting.
And case in point, look at what happened during Forever Evil, and because he walked around on the surface world, he saved someone from being burned alive.
And he was ready to actually live on the surface world for a while until some of the Atlanteans show him saying, "We need you."
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, again, and it's like even before in Throne of Atlantis, he and Arthur were like friends.
Cameron asked a good. Yep, Cameron asked a good question.
Speaking of his heritage, do you prefer Tom Curry or
Tom Curry?
Tom. You mean it's like okay. You mean it's like if his father's a lighthouse keeper, or just like
Well, Atlan was his father figure, but I'm sorry. After Atlan tried to do what he did to get Arthur back, even he had to manipulate events. I'm sorry, he meant well, but he lost me there.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely prefer Arthur Curry 100%.
Now, can I give one little bit of defense to Pseudoconic's Aquaman?
Sure.
I would not say that she had anything against Aquaman. She just told stories that she thought was right and were worth telling. It's just it ended up not doing that well. But I would never say that there's been a writer on Aquaman where you feel like, do they even care about Aquaman? Even she didn't feel that way. I never felt her heart was in the right place.
Yeah, it's like my problem is she made Aquaman a side character in his own book. You know how I hate that in favor of Mera. That's where my problem really relied. So because I'm like, you're writing, if you want to write Mera, that's fine. And I did like some of the Mera stuff, like make Mera the Queen of Atlantis. That was cool, but you can't ignore Arthur.
But it also tied into Scott Snyder's run.
No, I know that, and again, that was also really cool. But I'm like, no, right? So he's basically like Zod, like Orm is basically a less extreme version of he's basically a less extreme Zod for Aquaman.
Yeah, because Zod, no matter what, even if he may have love with his with Ursa or Feora, whichever one, and all that, and Lord Zod, even with those, he's still Kryptonian. He's more of a Krypton first. Even Orm, at the very least, is willing to look and say, "We share the same planet."
Let me put it this way. Put Orm in the same position. Put Zod in the same position Orm was in Forever Evil. He will just laser the entire town instead of saving someone from burning.
Exactly, because he wouldn't care. Because again, I think the other thing again, Orm is from Earth. That gives a different context than being a completely alien to another planet that you'd rather conquer.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you agree that's probably the big difference, that Orm is still an Earthling? He's just going to the surface world. That's much closer still to Atlantis than a whole other planet.
Yeah, exactly. And again, when you deal with like Throne of Atlantis Orm, even from the DCAMU, where he's like, no, they poison our oceans, they like threaten our people, so of course we have to go to war with them because
he's seeing the worst. He's seeing the worst. He's not seeing the best.
Yeah, if you only see the worst of people, of course they're going to like to do that. Of course you're going to grow up and have this very negative opinion.
Because why else? Because you're not going to go up and hang out with them, or so your only interaction is that, why are you polluting?
And Cameron asked about our opinion on the whole feud with Black Manta. I like it because it's like Arthur made a mistake, and that mistake continues to haunt him.
And it's what led to the death of his son.
Yeah, exactly. That's the cool. And Geoff continued that when he reintroduced that in the new 52. It's more of like it's more of like, no, Aquaman knows it's a mistake, but then it's like he continues to be dogged by that one death.
Yeah, and again, it's like that example of a death that was the worst done to the worst possible person you could have ever chosen that to.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like even in the arc with the others, and you see Black Manta just murdering everyone.
And again, and that's the other thing about Black Manta. What I like about him is that he is definitely the most basic, irredeemable villain. Even with a sympathetic backstory, he's not a Sinestro. He's not an Orm. He basically revels in how evil he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
He's doing it for no other reason than revenge.
Yeah, it's straight up revenge. He's willing to do anything possible to get revenge on Arthur. Anything.
At any level of revenge. It doesn't even have to be,
Case in point, he killed his son.
Yeah, but that's the other thing is, he doesn't want to kill Aquaman. Well, not right away, because that would end his suffering, and that'd be boring. He wants him to suffer.
Yeah, exactly. He wants him to suffer as long as possible. It's basically like, once your like wife and stuff are dead, then you have my permission to die.
Oh, you have my permission to die.
Yeah, it's like I love where in Aquaman 2 they got this really well, where he goes, I want to kill Aquaman and everyone he ever loved.
Exactly, but you want to bet he meant that in the other order.
Yeah. I know that he meant I'm going to kill everyone Aquaman loved so that he can suffer, and then I'll kill him.
And again, that's one thing I loved about Aquaman 2, because technically it also was playing off of that story arc that that Geoff Johns never got to. And from what I heard, that was intentional when he worked on it. That, trying to gather up all the tridents, that was, because he never got to that in the comics. He did that in the movie to play off of that. But I just loved how it's a bit of a brother movie.
Yeah, by the way, they did the whole trident thing.
No, they didn't do the whole trying to gather the different tridents.
Oh, okay, I see what you're talking about.
Because that was clearly what they were setting up after Forever Evil, and they never got to it because Geoff never went back.
That's true. I'll give you that.
But yeah, the movie, Aquaman 2, played off of that, having to gather all the tridents.
Yeah, exactly.
And I got to say also, but you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, though, if there's one, I won't say bad side, but definitely a side to what Geoff did is, you know about stuff like the trench and everything, but when you really look at it, he didn't add that much more.
Yeah,
compared to Green Lantern.
Which I'm fine with that. It was most likely just like, hey, there's still a rich world here, and let me work on stabilizing what we have right now.
Which he did. I think that was what he came in to do, was to recontextualize and make people love Aquaman properly.
Which he definitely did. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, at that point, yes, he didn't introduce a lot of stuff, but the book is so good that do I really care?
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
Oh, sorry, there's no NJ bring up Eobard. Geoff's not really responsible for that as much as people think.
Yeah, it's more like he was obsessed with Barry Allen, so he wanted to go back and stuff. And
I'll be honest, Williamson did better with Reverse Splash than Geoff did.
Yeah,
you know what? That's a villain we got to go over. The Reverse Splashes. He's definitely one of my favorite villains.
Oh yeah, 100%. We definitely will at some point. But yeah, it's like, so the Geoff Johns Aquaman run. Honestly, I would rate it as a solid 9.5.
I'd agree with that. I would definitely agree with that.
Like, it's ridiculous. It's better than it has any right to be. Let me put it to you that way.
Agreed. And it came in, did what it needed to do, and at least people followed up on it. It's not like his Superman run where he came in, tried to fix everything, and then everyone threw it out the window.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think it's a good place to leave it. So, Robert, what else do you have coming on your channel?
I got a bunch of PTNs. I got to start uploading them actually, but and then after that, well, that's pretty much it for now.
As for me, Britt and I are going to be doing Super a lot likely soon. So for Comics League Dark, we have a big topic. There's another shakeup at Marvel, and they're moving out of New York City. So we'll definitely be talking about that.
I just got to say quickly. Remember when people laughed and complained about when DC left and thought Marvel's never going to leave New York? Do you remember that when they left?
Yes, exactly. And then so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the new creator as the head. It's going to be really interesting. And then we'll talk about what this means for Marvel, because obviously
it's a great choice for a replacement.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's someone that really has been when you look at the series that he was the editor on, there were some of them that maybe were not as great, but most of them were solid books.
52.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean 52. Enough said.
Yeah, exactly. And he was also one of the editors on JLA Avengers. Enough said. But yeah, and so we'll talk about movie night, which is Apocalypse, and I'll try and get back to doing the Amazon Answers. But yeah, stay at work, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lame, and we will see you guys later. Bye bye.